Cristiano Ronaldo just can't keep scoring. He is now the leading scorer when it comes to World Cup qualification scenarios for football with 40 goals now. He tops that list of elite gentlemen who have made it through the qualifications, and a lot of famous names in that list. But CR7 once again, the Portuguese legend, stands tall with his latest victory of his side against Hungary in the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. I'm Hameed Nawaz. You're watching The Scoreboard, coming to you live from our Islamabad studios of Pakistan TV. We've got lots more to discuss. Let's take a look at our top stories. Of course, we continue, and then, of course, we'll be moving on from football, and we're going to be talking about cricket. And in cricket, it's the ICC Women's World Cup that is underway. Pakistan have had a stellar of a game already, so we're going to be talking about that as well. But unfortunately, rain played spoil sport. Pakistan had England 7 down, and it looked like that this is going to be a major upset and a major victory for the Pakistani women's team. But when rain came in, it looks like these are heavy showers. The ground is completely covered and doesn't look like that play might resume, so that would be something to be worried about. But 79 for 7 England, probably one of the strongest sides in Women's World Cup right now, with 25 overs that were bowled. The skipper Fatma Sana, of course, taking the lead. Then we move on and we discuss Pakistan's tremendous victory in the test match against South Africa at home. It was a stellar of a day that we enjoyed for test cricket, and although some cricket experts said that before lunch we'll be able to wrap them up, but it took a couple of more overs after lunch when Pakistan thrashed South Africa by 93 runs. A 10-wicket haul for Noman Ali, who now stands tall as the player of the match as well. Shaheen Shafrizi also brilliant when it comes to his performance, because he was exceptional, also extracting a bit of reverse swing at the close of play as well. He took 4 wickets, and wrapping up the tail is something that Pakistan was definitely missing. So we're going to be talking about this and much more on The Scoreboard. Of course, we'll start off with football, and to discuss it further now, we've been joined on the show by football expert Ali Abbas. Good afternoon, Ali, and welcome to The Scoreboard.
Good afternoon, Emma. Thank you so much for having me here.
Right, Ali, he just refuses to give up, because a lot of people have questioned how long can he go for, but looks like he's got that World Cup trophy in sight, and that looks to be the target. But now the leading goal scorer in World Cup qualifiers. What would you like to say about Cristiano Ronaldo?
Just the mentality, because obviously he's playing in the Saudi League, and with all due respect to the Saudi League, it's not the same standard as Europe. But which is why every now and then, whenever he pops up for Portugal in a World Cup qualifier or a Nations League fixture, it's like he has to prove himself in every single game to justify a spot on that plane, which is going to be heading to the US for the World Cup in 2026. And he justifies it by scoring again and again and again, be it a qualifier, be it a match against Hungary, be it the Nations League final against Spain. So you have to give it to the person. And you know what? Listen, maybe by the end of the 2022 World Cup, when Messi had lifted that trophy, you and I both felt that this was the end of Cristiano Ronaldo's maybe pursuit of greatness, and he's probably bowing down to Messi. Now, we cannot say that he'll be winning the World Cup in 2026, but the fact that he's still in discussion for that squad, and pretty much a certain player who's going to be traveling to the US in 2026 for the World Cup, just shows what an elite mentality Cristiano Ronaldo has. And on the flip side, it's impossible to leave a person with that mentality out, even if he's just going to give you 60 to 70 minutes per match, or even if it's someone that you can bring off the bench. You need a Cristiano Ronaldo, because if you talk about a player who thrives on big moments, there is no one bigger than Cristiano Ronaldo, even if he's 39 years old or 40 years old.
Well, certainly, but
So
the
happy to see.
composition of this team, Ali, I mean, the composition of this team needs to be discussed. And we've already said that Portugal have been really outstanding, but we have to realize that this World Cup now is much more hyped, with teams qualifying for the very first time, like Cape Verde, who just qualified a couple of days ago from the African qualifiers. We've got, Qatar, who's qualified as well. So there's a lot of talk about this World Cup. Does this Portuguese team, of course, including Cristiano Ronaldo, really have what's needed to win a World Cup at this stage? I understand winning a Euro is one thing, but you're talking about the World Cup.
Ahmed, so here's one thing that I really liked about them. I think after quite a while, we're seeing this team functioning well together. I think in the 2022 World Cup, maybe because of the aura of Cristiano Ronaldo, the team was still centered around Cristiano Ronaldo. In 2026, say what you want, but this team is no longer centered around Cristiano Ronaldo. They have a pretty solid midfield. They have really good fullbacks. and they have players who can make difference other than Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, with the sad loss of Diogo Jota, they're missing a forward, right? So it's obviously they had Cristiano Ronaldo maybe playing about 60 to 70 minutes, and then Diogo Jota would pop off from the bench and try to add in another 20 minutes just to give them the same speed and same flair in the fixture. But I think the one thing that Roberto Martinez has done well is he has not centered the team around Ronaldo. So Ronaldo is no longer the main man. I think that puts a little bit less pressure on him as well, also allowing the other superstars in the team, the like of Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Nuno Mendes, uh, those players just to sort of evolve and show themselves at the world stage. Because if I ask you to name me the top five players in this Portuguese team, right, despite the talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, you probably will not put Cristiano Ronaldo in the top five. And that is no disrespect to Cristiano Ronaldo. That is just to show how good the rest of the team is, ranging from Vitinha to, I mean, obviously, Nuno Mendes, I just mentioned. So that is why I think this team is now set up to really compete with the big guns. And they showed that. They won the Nations League final against Spain, which was basically talked about as being the a match where Lamine Yamal will consolidate the Ballon d'Or. But Cristiano Ronaldo scored the equalizer and Portugal went on to win. So, yes, I'm actually really excited to see what they come up with.
Well, certainly, but we've got to also gauge some of the other teams that are making amends as well. Now, the Spanish side is talked about a lot when it comes to World Cup football, and once again, Lamine Yamal has been the talk of the town. Does Spain really impress us with their youth bulge that they've enjoyed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, yes. The plain and simple answer is yes. I mean, walking into the Euros that Spain won recently, no one really touted them as favorites. And I think it's a fine blend, right? So you have experience from the likes of Danny Carvajal to Rodri, then falling on to players like Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal. It's a fine blend, and it's actually similar to what they had in 2010 in terms of the age bracket. So you have players who are experienced, players who are sort of at their peak, maybe not the experience, and then you have these young guns with all of the flair that you would like up front. So they're set up pretty nicely. Now, would they be able to repeat the heroics of the recent Euros? That remains to be seen. But I do feel that it's a very, very good squad to have. However, the fact that Lamine Yamal is now suffering with so many of these injury concerns that have started popping up recently, that is going to be a concern because there's obviously a tussle between Spain and Barcelona in terms of Spain wanting to play him in every single game and Barcelona wanting him to rest in the international break and focusing solely on the club form. Now, this is a place where most of the players might make it or end up breaking themselves down, right? So this is a very critical stage of in the career of this massive talent known as Lamine Yamal. What happens remains to be seen, but I do think that over the next 6 to 7 months, we're going to see a different side to Lamine Yamal in terms of his own character, how he manages to juggle the international pressure that he has and the club pressure that he has. Because if he is to be the next Lionel Messi, this is the kind of stuff he'll have to deal with for the next 16, 17, or 18 years if he wants to be up there with probably the greatest player of all time.
Well, I keep telling people the last time he was in a World Cup, he missed school and he had to go back and go through his academic examinations. This time, God knows what's going to happen, but he's certainly a talent to watch out for. But certainly, Cristiano Ronaldo still stands out tall. Let's take a look at this very interesting stat that we've got regarding his goal scoring opportunities as well. And this is something that we see now. So 41 goals when it comes to FIFA competition as well, then 41 goals into European qualifiers, 21 go elsewhere. And then, of course, you see that the outlook is certainly very much of a diverse nature. So this is someone probably, Ali Abbas, I think the real crux over here from the numbers we see is that Cristiano Ronaldo is someone who equally enjoys international football than he enjoys league football. And it's funny that you mentioned that he's in a league right now which might not be the most popular in the world, but this is probably at a time where people are talking about the fact that international football doesn't have much importance anymore because of the dominance of league football. But at the same time, we've got an individual, a legend like Cristiano Ronaldo, who's still pretty much focused on international football.
Yeah. And listen, Amit, he achieved pretty much all that he had to achieve in European football or league football, right? So I think it was a very smart move of him. Maybe going to Saudi was, he had a different mindset. The fact that he chose to stay in Saudi. Now, one thing that you and I both can agree upon is that Cristiano Ronaldo has no shortage of money. So if we sit over here and say that, you know what, he's doing it all for the money, then I think probably I will need to check my bank balance once again before making a comment about Cristiano Ronaldo doing it for the money. I think the fact that he's staying in the Saudi league allows him to recover in the warm weather. So he's basically put less pressure on himself when it comes to league football, which is probably 8 to 10 months of the entire calendar year. So he has time to recover, re-energize himself, and then just show up for these international fixtures. So I think he's really smart, and it's not about him just maybe shying away and doing it all for the money. You look at his fitness right now. That's not a man who's just living for money. He has a clear goal in mind. He knows that he can play international football in Europe, compete for the World Cup in weather which is maybe slightly cooler, and then he can come back to the warm weather of Saudi, sort of just heal his body, re-energize, just play a bit of football, get the right kind of practice he needs without a lot of pressure. For example, let's imagine if he's still playing in a Man United or Juventus, he's going to deal with all of that. For the lack of a better word, he's going to deal with all of that ruckus, right? Without gaining much because people are still going to criticize him. So he sort of just freed up his
Well,
mind for four
certainly.
to five
Thank you
months.
very much, Ali
Yeah.
Abbas, for joining us on the scoreboard and for your analysis of the Portuguese legend Cristiano Ronaldo, who now becomes the leading goal scorer, and he tops that list of elite players in FIFA World Cup qualifiers. And I think the stage is set now. He's got one eye on that trophy, so it's going to be very, very interesting. But now we move on. We're going to be discussing cricket. The ICC Women's World Cup continues. With each passing day, we've got something to discuss when it comes to the results, and qualification for top 4 teams up for grabs when it comes to the semi-final. It's still pretty much even Steven, but Pakistan have started well. Unfortunately, rain played spoiled sport. When Pakistan were last bowling, they had England 7 down and they bowled brilliantly. So I think this is one thing that we should be very optimistic about, but the fact still remains that whether the game progresses or not is going to be very important. To discuss this further, we've been joined on the scoreboard by someone who's got a record number of 112 ODI matches, 160 T20 internationals for Pakistan. Joining us is none other than Nida Dar. Good afternoon and welcome to the scoreboard.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Right, Nida, what would you like to add so far about the current performance? Because the fact, remains that when you talk about Fatma Sana, she's really led this side for quite some time now, although she's a young captain. But today was a bit different. We saw a bit more energy from the side.
Right. Well, if we talk about the first match of the World Cup, we started very, it's not very good result, and the three matches so far, the result is the same. But if I talk about the bowling side and the fielding side, it's really very improved. But all we talk about the batting, and everyone knows that we struggle in the batting. And so far, I'm watching today's match. They bowled really well today as well. 79 for 7 in 25 overs, but still we have a problem in batting in middle overs and in top orders. But I have to mention Sidra Amin. She really batted really well on the top order, but we need some more partnerships here for the best results.
Well, there's been a lot of talk, Nida, about this inexperienced batting lineup as well. Some cricket experts have gone beyond it. They've mentioned you as well that, since you weren't part of the team, they should have had a plan B of how they're going to carry that experience forward. But this has become a serious problem now that we eliminate Sidra from the equation and we don't, see a side that can even bat for 50 overs. Where is that problem?
Well, I'm looking for this because the selection, I'm not satisfied with the selections, and simply we are struggling in the batting, and we know we need some batters who actually play for 50 overs, and especially in the middle overs, because the situation, the condition of Colombo, it always needs a proper batter who can continue with the opener batter or middle order or take it to the end. So I am not satisfied with the selection. And if someone is talking about me, yes, in the middle overs, I have take a lot of things in the end and positive and give a lot of positive result. But still, if we select these kind of players in the middle, and we keep changing and keep rotating the players, then we cannot have that result what we want.
Well, I have to go a bit, further back in time as well, because you obviously played in different positions as well as a batter. You enjoyed opening, but then you were brought to the middle order just to increase Pakistan's experience strength in the middle order. But then all of a sudden we saw that you're removed from the side and we collapse. So had there been no planning before that, even when you were skipper, to identify batters who could be part of Pakistan's middle order?
Well, when I was the captain, I have the only goal that we need some players who can bat for 50 overs and the players who can only select for the T20 team. So I actually suggest for the two teams, to the board and to the selectors and to the coaches, that we need two teams, two exact teams to play for T20 format, and one is for 50 overs. But all of the sudden the things are changed. Everyone is changed, coaches are changed, things are changed. The board is all, the management is changed. So we need consistent people who can continue in the team and perform well, because we need some experience. We need some opportunity to make these kind of matches into best result. So I always talk about, it's not the problem in the players, it's the problem that we cannot continue with the same management and with the same selectors.
Well, certainly, I think that was a decision taken probably too quickly without planning, or what we could have done as well. So I believe that as well. But Nida, I want to ask you this particularly, because the fact is that you're mentioning, and I recognize that we've got a problem with our batting strength right now. But particularly the bowling, we go to that match against Australia. We have them 70 for 7. And from there
Yep.
onwards, we let them score 200. That is a big question.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing, because everyone knows that we have a bowling strength, we have a good fielding side, but still, if we continue with that kind of performances, then we cannot win these kind of matches. Because if we see, we have a best chance to win against Australia, and 70 74 7, and and went into 2021 to 221, then it was a big loss for us. Thing is, we need some mature bowlers as well. We need some good strength, good strategies and plans. If we don't have any plan, don't have A plan or B plan, then we cannot execute our best things.
Well, I think at the moment it looks like we have no plan at all. But that being said, Nida, please stay with us. We're just going to go towards a short break. We'll be right back. Keep watching the scoreboard. Welcome back to the scoreboard. Just a while ago, I had a conversation with former captain of the Pakistan team and also commentator in the ICC Women's World Cup, Hameed, and the images she shared from Colombo were not so positive. There's a lot of rain at the moment. The clouds are absolutely grey. It would be very, very rare that a game proceeds further. So I think that would be the case. But now joining us in studios is someone who happens to be a cricket expert and a cricket writer as well. Joining us on the scoreboard is Nadeem. Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon.
How are you? I'm good, how are you?
Well, thank you very much for joining us. 70 for 7 against Australia, ended up with 200. 7 down again in the 70s this time, but I was very hopeful until the rain came in.
Yeah, I think that even God does not want us to win the match. That being said, obviously, Ahmed, considering the bowling performance, it was never the matter of concern for us. Even against Australia, when we were bowling them 70 and 7 out on 70, it was pretty good. And this was the case today as well. But like I was thinking that you cannot be sure with Pakistan cricket team until unless they are not completely bowled out. So anything above 150 would have been a disaster for us. But now that you are telling that it's raining and it's hardly impossible for the match to start. But the positive takeaway from here is that you can take a big team like England and put them in a lot of pressure. I was reading somewhere that this is the first time in the history of England cricket team, not just men or women, that all of these 7 players got bowled out or LBW. So we do have a record with us right now, which is not that big of a deal, but at least there is something that we did in this tournament, because the performance throughout was a disaster, especially in batting. So I think we might have been saved from the batting humiliation with the rain, because we can only think that way. But nonetheless, the bowling, I think it was pretty remarkable today.
Well, it's always been remarkable. Bowling in Pakistan cricket has always been remarkable. But where we struggle is wrapping up the tail and also then chasing that target down.
Of course, Ahmed, I think that when you go back and see in your structure that maybe that's where you are lacking, that you are not been able to produce a good batter. Till now, there's only 1 or 2 names that we can take when it comes to good batting lineup for Pakistan women cricket team. And in this World Cup as well, there's not been a single innings where we have crossed 200 or say 180 or 190. And teams have been scoring 300, 250 plus in every other match.
Which is the new normal now.
Exactly. So, like when we talk about the paradigm shift in the male cricket, the paradigm has also shifted in women cricket, and they have been started to take women cricket seriously as well. And I think that we might have been in the same dark era where we thought that cricket for women is not still in the trend.
They're absolutely, and a secondary subject as well. But I'm going to come back to that. I'm just going to go to Nida Dar once again, who's still with us. Nida, I'll be very blunt about this one. We're still failing to understand the role that certain players have in the team now. With your absence, immediately the middle order, they put that entire probably focus, apart from Sidra, has been on Alia, of why she's in the team, what's her role, because she's not bowling anymore. As a senior campaigner, is she giving enough performances? Because let's be very honest, some of these players have now played enough games to lead Pakistan as a senior campaigner.
Absolutely. Look, this is the situation. I might say this is a nice situation of Pakistan because we have been struggling for so long in batting. And the thing is, yes, everyone knows their roles, and they got a lot of chances. They got a lot of years to play for Pakistan, and they should convert their performance into Pakistan winning. But the thing is, if we keep shuffling the players, keep rotating the players, then we cannot go as far. We need that. And the other thing is, if we try a lot of things in the World Cup stage, then this experience cannot be explored in this kind of situation. The thing is, we need to have some plans and plans before the big events. That we have to identify the players, that these kind of players should play in the 50 overs and play in the T20s. So we cannot be in the middle of the everything. And this is the situation. That's why we are surviving in this kind of format.
Looks like we have no plan at all. So we're just going to go towards a short break. We'll be right back. Keep watching the scoreboard.
And Sajid, they ended up doing a good job, but you gave them a good, I would say, I would say at least the
platform,
pitch, a platform, right? But when you're going to be playing against England or Australia, for an instance, there might be times when they create a pitch which is trickier to bowlers, but better for batters.
But isn't it vice versa? If we try to prepare for that in this test match and we end up being 70 all out, then all of these experts are going to claim that we should have at least won at home. So rather win matches at home and then go away.
The only certain thing about Pakistan cricket team is its uncertainty, right? The only thing that you can predict about this team is that this is unpredictable, right? So whatever happens, you cannot just take a prior comment that this is how our team is going to perform, because there will be times, like for instance, if you see individual performances of players, there will be time that they would be scoring 90s. We had 4 or 5 half centuries in the first innings, and all of those batters, most of them, they did struggle in the second innings, right? So you have to be I always say that you have to be sharp in your psychological aims, because like talking about Abdullah Shafique, for instance, Rabada took his wicket in the first innings, and I remember like some years back, Hafiz and Dale Steyn, there was a love story that just started, right? That kept on continuing, and I was thinking that it's the same thing with Abdullah and Rabada, because before lunch, the way Abdullah was playing against Rabada, he just got saved by mere of fractions only. So you get a lot of psychological pressure on yourself. You get out from one particular bowler at one point of time, and when the other at any other given point you have to face them, you do face a lot of energy deficit, I would say.
But what's the missing link over here? Because I'll be very vocal about this. I was very disappointed with Saeed Shakeel. I rate him as a fantastic test player, and I wanted some more runs from him, because that is a very important position. For far too long, Asad Shafique has done a good job at that position for Pakistan.
Ahmed, I think that we focus on targeting other people's deficiency rather than our own strengths. So when Saeed had a stats that he was always at least 20 or so runs were always scored by Saeed Shakeel, but now that stat is nowhere to be seen, right? So Saeed at that point had the ability to play good cricket. You started focusing on how you had to target other people's deficiency, and in the same time you forgot to target your own things that you had which were working for you. Abdullah Shafique had the same case, technically solid batter, no one put in efforts. Now he has not been performing for the last 2 years or so, and the same case went for Babar Azam. So I would really suggest them to focus on what they have rather than
what people want them to be. Right. That's been a far too long debate, but thank you very much, Amal, for joining us. I think the verdict is loud and clear from the scoreboard that this is a fantastic victory for Pakistan, and if we're able to win matches at home and certainly do well in this World Test Championship, then we would love Pakistan to play the final of this World Test Championship cycle and probably win it as well, because that is something that will be very, very interesting. But that's all we have time for from this edition of the Scoreboard. Join us tomorrow once again for some more updates from the world of sports, and don't forget to log on to our digital media handles as well. From me and my entire team, it's goodbye for now.